We do
Like
not have a flag, though.
Mike, do you have a flag for us, Mr. Salamini? Any
No.
chance? No. Okay.
Okay. Can we just?
We can.
We can.
Sure.
Let's just do it. We know it's out there. So, okay. Real quick.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag
of the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. All right. So first order of business is public comment. I have not received any. Marlene, have you?
The only thing I would add is that Mr. Bester had written us as a committee and had mentioned his concern with using the OLSAT as an indicator based on its age, et cetera. And
Yeah.
Mr. Hamlin and I concur with much of what Mr. Bester said. We've actually looked into a couple of years ago doing away with the OLSAT, but it is used in some certain situations. It is not a particularly costly tool. So I would say that we've had conversations to begin phasing it out, but we are still employing it. But his comments are certainly valid, and it's something that we have looked into and are taking into consideration.
Okay. So I'm hopeful Mr. Bester is on right now. Could you just give an overview or a summary of what it would take to phase this out? And I think one of his questions had to do with the cost. What exactly, do you know off the top of your head what that cost is?
I do not know off the top of my head what the cost of that is. But one of the things that we use it for is just as one small indicator of holistically looking at a child to determine sometimes whether or not either a child might be achieving their potential. It might also help us in looking at just being another piece of data to determine whether or not we would go to testing. It would not keep us from going to testing for special education, nor would it keep a child out of our academically gifted program. But it is an indicator that we use. Our AGP program, our academically gifted program, actually serves a higher percentage of students than most districts because we do look at their performance in the classroom and a lot of those non-linear, not just grades, but more about their thinking and the kinds of projects they produce. So it's not just about their grades or their score on that OLSAT. But I can certainly get the committee some additional information about the cost.
Okay, all right. And I know you just inferred this or obliquely referred to it. There are other tests out there that may be a better measure, or not necessarily. Okay. I can see by the way you're shaking your head, it's probably not. Okay.
Kevin, did you want to add any thoughts to that? I know you had looked into this as well.
Yeah, not exactly for the kind of skills and aptitudes that this assessment gives us. It's honestly a matter of to what degree we need this information for all students. Some of this information is good for some of our students, and that's when we're talking about whether it's an assessment we continue with or not. I think that's kind of the realm where we're thinking about. Is this something that we need for everybody or for a smaller segment?
Okay.
But it wouldn't be something that I would say we'd be looking for a replacement for.
Okay.
Just overall use of.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to reach out to Mr. Bester too and see if we can develop some of his concerns and elaborate on it.
I will reach out to him, Faith.
Okay. All righty. Okay. Thanks.
As I'm opening my email, I see we have another email from Mr. Bester that came in at 4:58 p.m., which was 2 hours ago. I will read it. To the members of the Cheshire Curriculum Committee, as much as our school administrators, teachers, and Board of Ed need to be applauded for their efforts to maintain some semblance of learning through this pandemic shutdown, it is important to keep in perspective that distant or remote learning has been an emergency response to a crisis. And although district leaders have placed qualifiers on how successful distance learning has been for students, it will be extremely difficult to measure or quantify its impact, and certainly not in a timely manner. That said, I want to draw your attention to several newspaper articles published in the past week. I hope they are helpful. Some of these look familiar, one from the Wall Street Journal, one from the New York Times, Connecticut News Junkie is another. I hope you will take the time and read those articles as you tackle the challenging questions facing our community. I have always contended that the measure of a good school system is how it meets its educational needs of its most vulnerable students. Motivated, driven students are relatively easy to teach, but those with learning issues and/or personal resistance to learning are unlikely to speak up and let their needs be known. I hope that the district can reach out to those students in a more individualized way, as a student and parent questionnaires will probably not be returned. A daunting job for sure, but one which must be undertaken in order to account for as many of our students as possible. Once again, with the utmost respect for all you do, Jack Bester. So I would say thank you to Mr. Bester. And I appreciate the time that he takes to write these out and sharing some of these good articles, which I know some on our call are familiar with, and certainly appreciate his support very much. These are all things that I think we share in common.
Okay, thank you. Anne, do you have any comments on that or any observations? I don't want to move on without getting your feedback.
No, I had seen Mr. Bester's email at 4:30 and also had the same reaction that Marlene just expressed, which was, you know, we're all on the same board with what we're doing here. So
yeah, and
always appreciative of having some articles thrown in for my evening reading.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. And so Dr. Solon has joined us, and I don't know if he's got any feedback or comments that he's heard from the public.
With respect to, I'm sorry.
Just curriculum committee. Just
no,
sure.
I forwarded Jack Bester's email to Marlene. Nothing additionally. I think, you know, the big angst across Connecticut is what are we doing in the fall? And we're aspiring to, you know, meet whatever challenge we have to face and learn from what we experienced this spring as it relates to curriculum and instruction, and apply that knowledge in the fall. And I think that's a big part of what this meeting tonight is about. Not just, you know, if we are unfortunately in a remote learning environment, but in any learning environment, how do we better leverage technology for that success? So that's what we're going to look forward to hearing that tonight. Unfortunately, I may have to step out though.
Okay. All right. And yes, we are going to dive in more deeply later on in the agenda. Okay. Then first item of action is review of the minutes of May 11th, 2020. We've had a chance to review them. So do I have a motion for approval of the minutes? And I think that would be you.
No, if Anne's frozen.
Oh, is she?
I don't think she could sit that still.
No, she's very poised. There she is.
Okay, I think I have my mic open now. Sorry.
Right.
So moved.
Okay, move. Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next item is new business and a review of an action on the Peck Jones grant request.
Yes.
So
thank you, Faith. So every year at this time, the district puts in a proposal for the Peck Jones grant. It's been a number of things, including band uniforms. It also helped to solidify the World Language Lab. Last year, we used it for professional development and moving the ball forward with the next generation science standards across the district. And this year, what we are looking to do is to enhance the quality of reading materials in the classrooms, in the classroom libraries and in the school libraries for students across the district. And the reason for this is twofold. One, since the implementation of full day kindergarten, our students in grade 1 have been achieving at higher levels than when we offered only a half day program. And so teachers in those first and second grades need additional text to support their students in those grades. The second thing is we have a lot of teachers and librarians who are concerned that due to remote learning, we might not be able to collect all of the lent materials that were given out. And because they've been at home for so long, we might need to replace and update those. And thirdly, we're seeking to support culturally responsive curriculum by doing some audits within our libraries to make sure that we're addressing diversity in literacy. So I've included a couple of links within that document. We're seeking first $12,000 to acquire higher level text in our classroom libraries in grades 1 and 2, approximately $4,000 to bolster our nonfiction resources in the intermediate classroom libraries. We're looking at about $4,600 to enhance reading materials at Dodd, again, sort of in that lens of having culturally responsive text available to our students. And then about $8,000 to do that at the high school, where really some of those social studies texts and English texts can support the curriculum in that way. So I went based on the number that we were looking at last year, which I can confirm, $28,600. So I thought that was a nice way to supplement the classroom libraries that we know, haven't been fully funded necessarily in the last 4 or 5 years due to budget cuts, and that this would be a way to directly support our students. So I'm open to any questions you ladies may have on this topic.
Well, we discussed earlier this morning, Marlene, so I'm fine. I have no questions. I think it's a good use of the funds this year, especially given some of the challenges you guys may be facing in terms of retrieving some of the books that have been lent out.
Mm-hmm.
Anne, how about you?
Thank you.
Yeah, over my almost 5 years on the board, I have come to trust
Yeah.
pretty directly these requests for the Peck Jones funds. They're always come to us well-researched and with the need clearly identified. So I apologize, Marlene, I have not been able to take a look at that document in detail, but I will take a look at it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And do you feel we do need to take action on this? Do you feel you're in a position to make a motion to approve the request?
Sure.
Okay.
Would you like that now?
Unless Marlene wants to add anything else, I think we're ready.
And then we can always have discussion after it's seconded too, right?
Yes.
So I move that we accept the proposal for use of the Peck Jones funds for, I don't have the
I would then for the purposes of enhancing K-12 libraries.
exactly.
Okay.
What she said.
What she said.
Okay. I second. Is there any discussion, any further discussion? I have none. And Anne, you've said your piece. Okay,
Yes.
so hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed.
Thank you so much. You have made or will make teachers and principals so happy. I see Mary giving her thank you right now. And I know this is going to make a big difference for kids. So thank you both very much for your support on that. Much appreciated.
Great.
And this motion now goes to the full board for approval, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, now we move on to informational items. These are non-action items, but they are to bring us up to date on these 3 issues. So back to Marlene.
Okay, so the next 2 items, A and B, I'm going to turn over to Dr. Gadd so she can fill us in on the process and some of the changes that have occurred. These items have already come through Curriculum Committee in prior years, so this is sort of an update.
Good evening. I hope everyone is well and that the pollen isn't too horrible for you. It's a challenge, I'll tell you what. So the 2 items that I'm bringing to you, one is about the early college experience course called Digital Media Foundations, and the other is about business courses we're working to articulate with Tunxus Community College. So first, Digital Media Foundations was a course that was approved as an ECE or UConn Early College Experience course. And that was approved and is in our course, our program of studies book to go forward for students for this coming fall for the school year 2020 to 2021. On April 29th, Stephanie Malinowski, who is one of the program specialists, part of the Early College Experience program, emailed Connecticut high schools that had this program through UConn, explaining that effective fall of 2020, UConn would no longer be offering the digital media course, which meant that high schools wouldn't be able to grant to their students the 3 college credits through early college experience. And again, we got that on April 29th. Very shortly thereafter, the chair of our Career and Technical Education Department, Sean McEwen, got in touch with Naugatuck Community College, knowing that they have a strong digital arts technology program. So if you ever see the prefix DAT on any of the materials that come through, that's what that means. And in conversation with their head of curriculum, Lisa Dresner, they had just hired, right when the COVID-19 shutdowns hit, a new liaison, a new director of bridge programming, which means the liaison between high schools and the college. And so they're a little bit in transition as well, but they're very excited to work with us to try and offer our students, and the joy here is not just 3 credits, but it would end up being 6 credits through Naugatuck, because the course that we proposed, our Digital Media Foundations course, would be reflected in their Digital Arts Technology introductory courses 101 and 108. So we're in the process of trying to get those credits in place for our students who sign up for that course, which we're really excited about because they still get the college credit. So that's in progress right now. But again, Tim McGee, who was the new director of the Bridge program, is the new director of the Bridge program. And I'm sure that they've been consumed, as we all have, with making the transition to remote learning. Any questions about that first piece before I?
Mary, just this is my own information. So when you say they get 6 college credits, are they generally accepted at any 4-year school, or is this within the Connecticut system?
Well, from any community college, they, especially depending on the program you're going into, there can be a question of what credits that accept. But typically within Connecticut, from a Connecticut community college, any of the 4-year colleges in Connecticut accept those credits. But community college credits are portable because they are official college credits from an accredited university. So the community colleges recently went through their version of the New England Association of Schools and Colleges accreditation process a couple of years ago. And that's when they began to regionalize and really clarify how they articulate and grant credit. So their courses are more and more robust in terms of portability of credits when they are through their program is called the CCP, which is the College and Career Pathways, not to be confused with our CCP, which means competitive college preparatory credit. Anyway, again, their programs are pretty robust, given that recent.
Okay.
I could add to that, just Mary, but just by saying that more and more colleges and universities are making much stronger relationships with the community colleges, so that they can transfer those credits. I know Quinnipiac University has been doing it for a couple of years now. So
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
in and out of the state.
I think it is a good thing. Yeah, in and out of the state, exactly.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Sure. And then the next piece is we've been working very hard with our local community colleges. Actually, I was flipping through my emails to see when did these conversations begin. And actually, it was February 14th of 2017 that I really began this dialogue with the folks within the high school. So I'm very happy that, and again, the community colleges were in flux in that period of time. So we met this year with Tunxus Community College with both the business department and the CTE department. And the CTE group is feeling that Naugatuck programming links well with their existing programs, but our business program links extremely well with the offerings at Tunxus Community College. And so this year we are looking to be able to add to our program of studies, as soon as this is approved, a number of courses that will be articulated with Tunxus and would again offer students college credit for courses they take in high school. So the courses, and I'll just rattle them off: Accounting 1 is a full year course, Personal Finance and Advanced Personal Finance, Computer Essentials Word Processing, which is a full year. Personal Finance, the Advanced or Personal Finance are both semester courses. Each of those courses would get 3 credits from Tunxus Community College. And I might add, all of them are free of charge, which is different from CE, which incurs a cost.
Yeah.
And so these are not yet in the program of studies as college credit bearing courses. So we would need to add that. And another course set in the works is Microsoft Office 1 and 2. And happily, the business teacher that teaches Microsoft Office 1 and 2 is also a business teacher at Tunxus Community College. So it's the same course. So we're in the process of working to get those courses articulated with Tunxus. So these are fantastic opportunities for our kids.
Do you have a target date?
As soon as we can. Again, given COVID, things have sort of slowed, but all of the paperwork is in, and we're just waiting to hear from them. So we would just be amending our current program of studies 2021 with this information for all of these courses, and that would the program of studies is also electronic. So we would have to put out a notice that your current program of studies is, if it's hard copy, is not up to date. But the electronic one is as soon as all of that is approved through the community colleges.
So I have a question.
Sure.
So if we haven't had these courses in our curriculum to date, do we still have some idea of how many students might take advantage of those courses?
So all of these courses are existing courses within our program of studies. They're all courses that already exist. There's no new curriculum here. It's just we're able to articulate it. So in other words, we take our syllabi and show Tunxus Community College what we're doing. And they say, you know what, we're completely aligned. Here are some textbooks that we can support you with, which is another nice feature of the work that we'd be doing together. And it's just about alignment, not a new on our part. Yeah, so it's just putting a note in that you're taking this class, and bonus, if you would like, you can get college credit.
So do those courses fill every year at Cheshire High?
Yeah, all of these courses are active. Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay.
Okay. So there's no, if the articulation, they're not articulated until late October, November, say that happened, they're not losing anything. I mean, it's just a matter of extending the credit.
Correct.
Okay.
And awarding those credits. And those credits can be awarded after the fact too, from what I understand.
Okay. Okay, great.
Okay.
Any other questions? No. All right.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. And now, drum roll, the discussion of the remote learning foundational tools.
Okay. So you know what our path has been on our remote learning plan. And we keep striving to make it better. We've gone through a few iterations, and thanks to all the folks on this call who support tech integration and technology, we've been able to hopefully meet parents' needs and meet student needs. As we look to plan for the 2020-21 school year, we want to expand upon that initial foundational set of remote and online tools and enhance those instructional possibilities to more fully meet our students' needs. And so when we look at that, we're looking at really two things. We want to be able to nimbly, this is Kevin's word, we were trying to nimbly adjust between the remote environment and the in-person environment, or any type of hybrid that may come about. And we know that that may change depending on when we start school and if there's another wave of this, and we end up, if we start out in person and we end up remote, or we're trying to plan for all the possibilities. And we want to, as closely as possible, meet the typical scope of our curriculum, instruction, and assessment needs and provide all that students need. So in order to do this, we want to make sure that we have universal access to both the software and the hardware that students need. So the best thing to do is make sure that they have all of the tools that they need. So as we look at moving forward with that, and we think about students' health and safety needs, and we're hearing that students won't be able to share pencils, pens, we won't be able to have any kind of community supplies that they can share amongst one another, that things will need to be separate. We also know that that will apply also for any device that they're using. They won't be able to put it in a cart and take it out, and it can't go, and still go home with them. So we're looking at doing a number of things. I talked about reading before. We want to make sure that our kids have access to reading materials from home, both our hardcover and our hard copy text, and also text online. So we're looking at things like Epic, which is a software program that will address students' reading needs from second grade and up. We're looking at expanding our capstone software, which is for students in kindergarten and grade 1. We're looking at reading A to Z. All of these things that we have, that we use to a greater or lesser extent, we know that we need to rely on more heavily in the remote environment. And Zern, which I'm sure you've heard over the past couple of years as we've introduced Eureka Math. And so Zern is one of those companion pieces that is online and gives our kids access to math instruction. So we're looking at those, and we're also looking at Google Classroom and how that was a really good tool for our older students, but we think we could do better with our younger kids. So with Mike's help and other folks on the call, we've been looking at Seesaw as a platform that is easier for both the younger students and our parents to utilize as a place to go and get this information. We also, from talking to our teachers and from talking to parents, realize that we know that our youngest kids can't really navigate and maneuver a Chromebook. They're not doing this kind of typing yet. They're still learning their numbers, and we want to encourage that and make sure that they continue to practice, penmanship and learning to write numbers and learning to write letters. We have some iPads across the district right now, and our plan is to make sure next year that every student in kindergarten has an iPad and that can access these software pieces that I told you about, as well as Seesaw, etc. So we've sort of looked into some of these things, looked at other districts who are using them. Our experts here on the team have looked into them, and we feel that that's going to be the best tool for our kindergarten students, where they wouldn't have to share it and every student would have access to it, versus waiting for mom or dad to finish using their device to then get on the computer, or having to use mom's phone or dad's phone to do that as well. We're so grateful to parents that they've been flexible with us as we've navigated that, because they've been heroic in the homeschooling department. But we want to make it easier next year, knowing that this was a Herculean effort for everyone, and we're trying to make it better next year. As far as our first graders go, we're really thinking that they would do with a ruggedized Chromebook. It's a Lenovo 10E that we're looking at, that is a touch screen. So it could transition with them. They're not so young in kindergarten anymore. They can begin to transition to a Chromebook, but this is sort of like a middle step in my mind, that they could still have access to touch. They could still write their numbers. They could show their work in a different way. And so we're really thinking that for those developmental considerations, K and 1, that these devices would most benefit from a tablet-based device. So that's what we're looking at. And thankfully, this team on the call we've really been working to look for efficiencies across the district and how we could reallocate some of the devices that we currently have to make sure that we can meet the needs of our students. One of those places is that our IAs, while we were able to give them some temporary devices, a lot of IAs were either using a phone or using something else. Think about how difficult it would be to use your phone to connect with your teacher and have them show you any kind of instruction on that device. It's not meant for it. And I applaud the IAs and the LSTs and kindergarten instructional assistants for really working so hard to be able to do that. But should we be in this environment next year, we're going to need to reallocate some of our devices to ensure that our teachers and our support staff that works instructing kids have the tools that they need to be able to meet those needs. So I wanted to make sure that the board, through the curriculum committee, was, that I kept you guys aware of these plans as we're developing, because I think it's going to be really important to support both parents and kids in any way that we can as we move forward. It's hard enough, I think, with the uncertainty. This sort of gives us the best of both worlds. We know that if we go back and we're in the classroom, kids will have what they need. We know that we don't think that kids should be online all the time and using devices all the time. It's for a short period of time, and then we'll put those away. The same will be true for what we provide them at home. We're not talking about flipping to online, to having kids be more online. We're talking about for the amount of time that that we want them to have ease of access and use that's developmentally appropriate for their age. So we are minding the future and trying to plan for all aspects, knowing that this will be good regardless of whether we're in a hybrid, whether we're back fully, or whether we have to do one-to-one temporarily and then be back in a remote situation. That was a lot of information. I'm sorry. Let me know what kind of questions you have, Anne.
So I have more of a comment, and I would like to take this opportunity to just thank your team, since they're all assembled here today, the tech team in Cheshire Public Schools, because I know what a task that was, and to do the emergency overhaul of our instruction this second half of the semester. That's how I always think. But in addition to that, I'd like to let Marlene know that everything that she has just presented to us makes so much sense to me. It makes sense to have the tools in the hands of the right age group and tools that are appropriate for the different age groups. And it's good to know that we have this tech team behind us verifying and consulting with us on just how to do that. We have the instructional experts, and then we have how you take technology and make that instruction work in the best way possible for the best age groups. So I have a lot of confidence. but I also know it's going to be a long summer of getting all of this going so that we can hit the ground running, whether kids are coming in full time, whether it's some sort of a hybrid, or whether it's, I don't know, what are the chances it would be fully online? I'm thinking parents need some sort of respite from the homeschooling, don't they? It's tough. So anyways, what you're saying inspires a lot of confidence for me. And I just want to thank you, Marlene, Kevin, Mary, and the whole tech team, because I know this is a lot of work and it's going in the right direction. And thank you for keeping us informed.
Thank you very much.
You said it very well.
And thank you, Jeff.
I think he's frozen.
He just popped in.
I used to tell Don Malonis used to tell me my job was to make him look good. And these guys, I have a great team to make me look good. So we had the Quinnipiac graduation tonight, so I'm kind of getting a late jump on everything.
Oh dear. I hope it went well.
It did very well.
Good. Good.
It's always great, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, just for the community, an overview of any of the logistical or financial, and Marlene, I know we talked about it early, but logistical or financial considerations that are going to come into play, if any, as we implement this.
Yeah, as you know, I know you and I talked earlier, but I think we're very lucky that Jeff was invited to be a part of the ACES regional committee to look at state reopenings of school. There are 7 RESCs, Regional Education Service Centers, around Connecticut, and the one that we belong to is ACES. And so they set up these working groups to gather information across the state. And they will take that information, will be fed to Miguel Cardona, the Commissioner of Education, as well as the governor, as they work to make plans and give us guidance on reopening. As you can imagine, we are incredibly eager to get that information so that we can further plan. I talked to a group of about 27 teachers today, and I said, this has got to be the worst thing you could ever do to a teacher. Teachers plan, and they like to have everything tied up in a nice bow before they leave for the summer, because then they will plan on their own for a comeback. And so this is just torture for people not to have this information. Having said that, I think that the first meeting that we had today, which was an open forum for teachers to give us feedback, was incredibly beneficial. And really helpful as we plan the curriculum instruction pieces of this. And Jeff and I are also going to be holding, beginning next week, parent meetings as well, open forums for parents to come and share their worries, their challenges regarding safety, regarding social emotional concerns, regarding device concerns, regarding curriculum and instructional concerns. We really want to know so that we can help, not only plan for the coming year, because some of that will be dictated by, health and safety regulations out of the commissioner and the governor's office, but also to know what our parents need, what our parents want. And I'm always grateful when people email and pick up the phone and share that with not just me and Kevin, but Jeff and Mary and all the principals. So, and the teachers. So I think we're hopefully on the right track. As far as finance considerations go, Faith, I know we've talked a lot about those within Finance Committee and at the Board of Ed meetings, but certainly these software programs that everybody and their brother offered as free during this time, we've gotten a taste of some of those. We're being very selective in what we're using. We're not jumping up. We're not a shiny and new, chasing down the shiny and new. we are to a fault looking at what works, what we're comfortable with, what we can train in, and what is going to continue to get to the heart of what we do in Cheshire Public Schools with curriculum and instruction. So there are a couple of things that we know are working that we will seek to expand upon. Screencastify for asynchronous video is one of them that we're talking with that company now to figure out what they will be offering. Scott, I can't think of any others, or Tom, can you think of some of the others that we're sort of,
Yeah, Screencastify is one. We're going to look at that just to kind of continue operations. They gave us their premium service for free really up till the end of June. And knowing that schools will be coming kind of back into the mix of this in the fall, we're going to kind of wait and see what they offer in the fall. Are they going to extend that offer? Are they going to kind of close rank and require us to pay? And hey, you've used it. Now can you kind of come in and pay for the freemium or the premium services? So we're kind of waiting, and every platform, it's going to be one. It'll take one company to make that change and extend it out. And then you're probably going to see the good gesture kind of trickle on out. So, we're not going to wait too long because obviously we need to make these decisions, but we're going to kind of see what moves they start to make, Google included in this, because there's some things with Google Meet that we're looking at as well. So there'll be some consideration for possibly purchasing and going down that path to augment what we've already been doing. And it's our hope that hopefully some of these companies, these vendors will, extend the gratitude a little bit longer. We'll see.
Okay. All right.
Along the same lines are like some of the actual devices, like you were talking about the Lenovo devices for the first graders as being a more appropriate level for that age group. Certainly there will be some costs involved. And I'm wondering, this all must be part of that rollover funds that we requested.
well, actually,
Reserve funds, what's it called?
based on what we've been able to do, and Mike can probably speak to this, we've really looked at a lot of efficiencies in inventorying every device that we have and rethinking about how we will deploy that. Mike, did you want to share a snippet about that?
Yeah, and just reallocating some of the current technology we have and with some other efficiencies. The whole project, so adding some more iPads at kindergarten, getting these Lenovo ruggedized tablets for first grade, and then Chromebooks for everyone else, actually comes out to be cost neutral. So there is no budget impact in this. Yes. And those savings are realized. I won't get into the nitty gritty detail, but for instance, we would have computers set up for staff members to check their email, and some, like even at the Board of Ed, there's a cart of Chromebooks there. So when we do professional development, teachers can come in and grab a Chromebook. Well, when we get to the point where everyone has a device, those situations go away, where we don't need to have these setups all over the place for people to have access. And when you ran the numbers, it actually came out to be more efficient. And we're up to do a lot of desktop computer replacements, which are very expensive, at like $750, while replacing one of those with a Chromebook at roughly $225. They're 3 for 1. So moving the numbers around, we came out to where we'll be able to do all this at zero budget impact.
Wow.
Mike Papa, you are singing our song.
I know, my goodness.
I know that hits a favorite chord for a lot of people, especially after budget season just ended.
That's right.
Wow.
And I have to tell you, I mean, I don't know, we worked on this for weeks. So really, I'm so glad that this whole team could be here with me tonight, and for Mike to do that number crunching, and Barbara can tell you where every device is in this in every building. She's just phenomenal. So.
And we own the devices, right? We don't lease, we
do not lease. Every once in a while, if we need to make a large purchase of like very expensive servers or a lot of desktop computers, I've done a 3-year lease in the past with 0%, basically just spread the payments out over 3 years. We have done a few of those, but typically we do purchase. These are very inexpensive devices, so
Right.
to lease doesn't doesn't really make a lot of sense. And we're getting 6 years out of a Chromebook that we spend $200 on.
Okay.
We're getting our money's worth. But yeah.
Okay.
But the way this works, which just hasn't really occurred until Marlene has taken over, is this integration of Tom, Scott, me, Barbara, Marlene, and Kevin is what allows this all to move forward. So we don't understand the curriculum as well, but we do understand the technology part. So us working together, we could focus our efforts in the direction that Marlene wants to take it and support her. That's what makes this all really work. And it's been fantastic. And with her leadership and with this team, it's been a pleasure.
Great. Well done.
Thank you.
Hey, can I, in terms of just Google Meets, I have heard some comments out there that it got people through this crisis, but it perhaps is not the best platform to work with. Have you heard that? And can you elaborate on that and what that
Yeah.
means and what is what's the alternative?
So the alternative, right from the get-go was Zoom. Everyone kind of latched onto Zoom and, oh, let's get into this. And it was a free platform. It was available to the general public. It didn't have a whole lot of security features built in. So you saw a lot of what they called the Zoom bombing and the infiltration, the easy infiltration of other calls and meetings, and people kind of disrupting it. Google Meet actually probably is the best platform for us to be on. It may not be the silver bullet to end all, Zoom conferences or video conferencing tools, but for our platform, which is already based in the Google Suite, where we have all the accounts provisioned, we have an admin console that allows us to kind of curate the settings at the student level. We can curate those settings at the staff level. We do have the capability to kind of archive some of what's going on in the Google Chat side of things. We have control measures over the quality of the video. Especially when kids are on all different types of networks. They're at home. They might be out in a public Wi-Fi area for a temporary portion of time. It gives us that ability to kind of control as much as possible from a district sense, whereas some of these other tools that are out there, we would have zero control. And having everybody on the same platform is also easier for training purposes and ease of use. When you have a teacher who knows how to use Google Meet and can work with the students on Google Meet and they're utilizing the same platform, we're better able to train them to be more efficient with Google Meet and this type of software, rather than, well, I'm going to be on Zoom today and I'm going to be on web free conference tomorrow. It's kind of universality. So everyone's speaking and working with the same language.
Okay.
And that even in the classroom perspective too, from the home front, we could also facilitate the parents at home too. Having that one platform is one key piece for both sides of the fence. But again, Scott mentioned this is one tool. It's one thing for the asynchronous back and forth between student and teacher. But there's a variety of tools that we have for getting content out in a video form, from a whiteboard form, for video form. There's different ways to get the content across for the curriculum.
Yeah, and Google did quickly, and I mean quickly, because in terms of Google, there's very few vendors that will move as fast as Google did on enhancements and some tweaks and features and availability. We talked about some of those enhancements to the freemium side of things. Google rolled out some expanded capability that they normally charge for pretty quickly to everyone. They even went so far as to allow free public use of Google Meets, which will mean more for us in the fall when we need to bring parents on who are outside our domain, outside our organization. So it will make it more universal for us to communicate with parents and students and other people from outside the district. That's one thing. It's like a walled garden. They talk about this walled garden, and that's why having it in the domain, having control over who comes and goes is a nice thing. But they're also giving us this flexibility to kind of open the door to that garden and let some people in very carefully and cautiously.
Okay.
Just
Right,
as
Yeah.
Faith, if you can tell, judging by the length of the response, that's how That's how carefully we scrutinize all the applications that come before us.
We do our research.
Ease of use, training. Do they meet all of our data privacy requirements as well as the state data privacy requirements?
Yep.
One thing I'll say about Google Meet in a nutshell, it's an extension of our natural environment. We already use all of these tools. Google Meet is just one more tool that we're already using along with all of our Gmail and our Google Calendar.
Right.
In the calendar, when you set a meeting, you just say add Google Meet to it. Very easy for everyone to grasp. We don't have to do a whole bunch of training, and we stay in this Google world where we all exist as far as privacy agreements, ability to go back and do forensics if something goes wrong and all that. So although Zoom probably does have some better features and in the corporate world and everything, we're not paying for it. And we don't have to invest a lot of time and effort in getting everybody up to speed on it.
Yeah, and I get, forgive me, I probably was, I threw out Google Meets, the brain doesn't always catch up with the mouth, but just the whole Google suite and the satisfaction and the efficacy of using it. But clearly you guys have found what you need in the suite, and so it's meeting our needs as the district, for the district. There's not a better animal that's come along yet.
I don't know how we'd survive without it.
Okay.
Yeah, true.
We have 4,500 Chromebooks out there currently, and I'm managing them all from one interface seamlessly.
Yep. Yeah, it's very comprehensive.
Great.
Would not be able to do that if someone gave us all MacBooks. I would not be able to do my job as efficiently as I'm doing it on the Google platform that we get for free.
Yeah.
Okay, but I do like my little Apple here. Just want you to know.
We all do.
They're compatible.
I'm in a place for everything. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, super. Ian, do you have anything more?
I just want to say, I wonder if some of the issues are less about this technology side of things and more about the instructional side of things, because I do know that any kind of Google Meet or Zoom classroom does not translate the way that the classroom, the physical classroom actually does.
Yeah.
But that's the teachers and the that's the academic side to be sorted out. This, in terms of the technology, we got to use, as the team has been saying, we've got to use what everybody can access, what we can control, and for our school district, that's the Google platform.
And I was going to add on before that, regardless any of the tools that we're thinking about, the goal of doing this is to be able to enact our well-written, constantly evolving, getting better, but our well-written curriculum to the highest degree that we can, no matter what the environment is. Mm-hmm. So if you're a person that looks like one thing that all you have a pretty good picture of, because you've had that experience in the classroom, whether we're remote, whether we're in some hybrid version, all of these tools that we're talking about, whether it's the devices or the software like Seesaw or Google Meets or any of those things, we're doing that to try to the greatest extent that we can enact our strong curriculum on behalf of our students. So each one of these is just a tool to help us do that to the greatest extent that we can, regardless of what environment we're in.
Great.
And I think to an extent too, Scott and I are both former teachers in the district. We understand that classroom dynamic. I'm also a parent in the district too, so I get to work with the teachers and see what they're providing for our students, and to see what our pitfalls are, what's working, what the students can handle easily, and what we can build on. That's Scott and mine's major position. What can we facilitate to take that classroom content, that classroom curriculum, and bringing it to a technological environment, but not solely technology based. That teaching component is a major asset to our educational environment. We're trying to make the technology facilitate either a hybrid experience, the in-class experience, or remote learning like we had to do.
Okay.
I want to add on to what Tom said about talking to other parents, that one of the things that's been really helpful is hearing about the conversations that B. Jacobs' team has with parents when they're calling in with technology requests, right? So she's getting, this is the issue that a parent called in with today. So she brings that to our meetings. Mike, the same thing. Everybody on this call is having these conversations with parents. So then we're able to come together and look at both the technology and the instruction to troubleshoot and then plan forward. So that's really helpful. And when you asked me before, Faith, about future planning, and we're talking a lot today about things that we do differently. I think you'll see that if we return in a remote or a hybrid environment next year, there will be lots of time planned in for sort of, for lack of a better term, onboarding of a child, student new to a classroom, new to a teacher, new to the ways of doing this. They might know, we went so fast to this. A lot of students already knew Google Classroom, but a lot didn't. It wasn't because we didn't have kids online for everything. So I think hand-holding, walking them through, teaching them where to put your assignment, where to get feedback, improving how we give feedback. I think our open houses for parents are going to look incredibly different because you're used to walking into the building and seeing the classroom. Now we've got to walk you through the virtual classroom, and we've got to make sure that parents are comfortable with all of the things that we're laying out. So the return to school next year I'm not making any predictions, I'm just planning for all options, is going to be really different. So we're going to be really busy this summer planning for all of that. And I think listening and communication out are just going to be key.
Mhm. Okay.
Marlene, you said next year like it's way down the road, but
I know.
no, I'm bringing you back to 2 months, baby.
I'm counting them as
Oh,
3.
yeah.
I'm still in early June.
Yeah, we're talking about 8 weeks.
I know.
Can we finish this year first?
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
No rest for the weary.
Oh.
All right. All right. Do we have, so we're covered, right? We've covered, anyone else want to add anything to this particular item, agenda item? Because we're at the end.
Are you looking for a motion to adjourn?
No, I just want to savor it, Ann. I just want to make sure everyone has said what they want to say, and they feel again, I'm not sure who's online, if anyone's watching us out there, but just make sure that we provide as much information as we can, which I believe we have, but we're all silent. Go in. Say it.
I move we adjourn.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So thank you everyone so much for your time tonight, and enjoy